Good afternoon. It is Friday, December 31st. New Year's Eve. More on that later, though. Now I just got off work, and Nick's having a self-quarantine because he was in contact with someone who had COVID, so no food with friends this evening. Gotta let Mom know, and instead I'll be spending some time with her. So that'll be fun. So we spent some time praying and whatnot, and now we're trying to figure out something to do for food. Because friends didn't want to eat, so I gotta eat with someone.
We'll do in a pinch, huh?
We're going to Buffalo Wild Wings. Yeah, I don't recognize the Cobb salad either. I don't know what you don't recognize here. It's nachos, it's mozzarella sticks, onion rings, and chicken. I don't know what a Cobb is, so other than the thing that corn is on, and I don't see any corn on your salad. And spending time with Mom was a suitable substitute for my usual dinner with friends. I'm home now, and I started to bring things in to thinking I can record some Pokemon, that'd be fun. And then I hear pop, boom, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's New Year's Eve. My neighbors will be setting off fireworks, and it's dark at this point, so if I don't want those as a background noise for my video, probably tonight's not the best night for it. So, I will not. I'll lay around, watch some YouTube, have a relaxing evening, and get to bed plenty before midnight, because it would not be fun to stay up that late. That would be quite miserable. But before going to bed, I will discuss resolutions. In practice, this year, and in theory. In theory, I have generally disliked the concept of New Year's resolutions. If you want to make a change, make the change. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to start losing weight, but next year, so I better eat all the fattening stuff now. That has always struck me as so painfully idiotic. I mean, and while it's been a number of years that I've been off the diet, at the point where I was on a diet that I'd lost like 40, 50 pounds over a number of years, I had made the decision to start that laying in bed one evening, and that is when it started. I made the decision, and it started immediately. There was no, ooh, dilly-dally. If I was going to make the decision, it had to be then. At that very moment. So that is my general mindset. You don't wait to make a change. And I think that technically holds true even now. However, over this past year, I don't know that I made a resolution for it. Like, I don't think, like, I decided, like, on New Year's Eve that it was what I wanted to do specifically. I think it was more over the first week of the new year, probably on that very first Tuesday, I decided I have a wall of movies. I would like to watch these movies. I should watch more movies. And so for a while, I had considered the idea, oh, I want to do couch reviews once I have a couch. But I decided, no, I will set it based on now with the new year. And this year I will watch a movie every week. And to help me stick with a schedule, it was mostly every Tuesday. To help my brain grab onto it, I pushed all of my movies back by a couple inches and got to start pulling them forward as they were watched, so I could recollect the movies that I already own. Because I have a brain that functions very heavily on a collection mindset. My brain gets that little dopamine hit from collecting something. I like it. Brains say good. So I just find ways to collect things I already own, much cheaper than collecting things that you have to buy from the store. And I made games with it as far as how I got to, after a few weeks, I was like, oh, let's make a game as far as how I get to open up new shelves. And all this stuff, like, oh, I had to either move movies forward or backward by choosing movies that I'm getting rid of or watching new movies to add stuff to the shelves. I had to do all that to move stuff around on the shelves. All sorts of little things to make it more of a game. And I have watched a movie every week this past year. And rating them, I did want to bring something up. Because I've enjoyed rating them. That's another thing that I did. I've been giving them rankings for all the movies. And I've enjoyed that. And for the most part, I stand behind it. And I don't have new rankings for the ones I disagree with. I do feel I would have to rewatch them in order to do so. But there are two movies that I ranked this past year that I don't really agree with the rankings of. One is Monty Python's Meaning of Life. I feel I ranked that movie too high, based purely on nostalgia for Monty Python's Flying Circus. And while I'm fine to rank a movie too high based on nostalgia for that movie, I feel that it got credit for that 16-ton box set of television show, and it ended up ranked a bit higher than it probably should have. I also believe that I ranked Ghost Ship too low because I was afraid that I was going to have fear that lasted after watching the movie, and I didn't. I did not have any fear lasting beyond that. I guess I've grown beyond that. I was actually able to eat rice just a couple days after, and I didn't even think about it until afterwards. I was like, ha ha. And then I was able to keep eating that rice even after the thought crossed my mind. It did not leave lingering dread, which is an issue I've had with horror movies in the past, and that particular movie as a horror movie that I have watched more than probably any other because I really enjoy the movie for a lot of other reasons. So I feel that I ranked it too low because I was afraid that it was going to leave me afraid. So, two movies I feel probably deserved, somewhat different ratings. And maybe at some point I will revisit some movies and, after a new viewing, adjust the rankings. Maybe not. For now, I still got a lot of movies to watch. I have watched a movie every week this past year. Not all from the shelf. Some of them were movies I saw in theaters. But that's fine, because that's still going to see a movie. And that is still ultimately the goal. And that is still ultimately the goal for next year. I want to continue Movie Day. Never got a couch. So, couch reviews that turned into home review, but then I was like, that sounds more like I'm reviewing a home. Let's just call it Movie Day. Movie Day will continue. Unless I have some sort of big upset in life and other things become more important, in which case it'll go by the wayside if it needs to. But life is life, and I can accept that. However, continuing to gamify it, one of the things I notice as I'm watching these movies is, in general, I watch movies that I've already seen. Of the movies on the shelves that I have watched, there are a couple that I watched the first time since I've owned them. There is one that I watched for the first time ever. Fiddler on the Roof. And I love it. I've wanted to go back and rewatch it since then, and I might at some point. But that doesn't count for Movie Day. I might have seen another one, because there was one of the James Bonds that I don't know if I'd seen before or not. I'm just not positive. So there might have been two movies that I saw for the first time. But for the most part, I gravitate towards movies that I have already seen and know I like. That is just part of who I am. So I'm like thinking, how do I work with what I've been doing and try to trick myself into doing something else? So I came up with the decision that if you want to call it a resolution or plan for this year, for next year, for 2022, will be to complete a shelf. As in, of these theoretical shelves I collect as I pull them forward, I will try to complete one. And I'd made this decision at least as far back as when I watched Fiddler on the Roof. Because I then sat and decided which shelf will I complete. I made this decision as soon as I came up with, months ago, what my resolution for next year would be. I started working on it. I don't know if you've noticed, but I went from watching movies and jumping around a lot to, like, when I jumped to Home Alone even, I was like, this is kind of a stretch, because this is not where I've been watching movies. I've been watching movies on this shelf. Because I decided this would be the easiest shelf to finish. And the reason is Harry Potter. Are these giant cases that take up a huge amount of space. Now, there were at the time more Harry Potter on this shelf, but I've been watching James Bond. And as I've been clearing James Bond, it is moving the whole shelf forward enough that when I finish it, I should have one more of the movies here, and that this end chunk should be over there. So by watching the James Bond movies, which I want to continue that series while it's still kind of fresh in my mind, I want to keep going through it, is moving things this way. And this gives me a number of movies in it that I still have seen and know I love, but it gives me a handful of movies in it that I've never seen, and a couple that I've seen like once and don't remember if I liked very much. So I'm like, that'll be a nice one. So my plan is to finish this shelf this year. Now, obviously, I'm going to watch other things from other shelves. But that is my goal, is by the end of the year to be able to have that shelf all pulled forward if I can. Not exactly the plan. Maybe I dive really into James Bond so I can finish moving things over, finish James Bond and feel like I can jump into Harry Potter, watch through those, and that'll leave a big chunk at the end of it feeling finished. I don't know. Maybe I now dive right into things I've never seen, like the fairy tale family classic trio of movies that is in one box. I've only seen parts of First Night. Never seen Forrest Gump. Never seen Frequency. Never seen Groundhog Day. So there's a few movies on there. Some of which are movies that I feel like I'm supposed to watch this movie. This is a important movie of some sort. I've heard such great things about, Groundhog Day, and Forrest Gump's well known, and yeah. But because of that is why I have chosen to watch a number of movies that I have watched. That is why I watched the movies that I watched in October. That is why I watched Fiddler on the Roof, the longest single film on this shelf, when I had a sick day. And I was watching a movie while sick. So I had extra time. So I watched the longest one. That is why. Because at that point, I knew what this New Year's resolution was going to be. And I started to work on it then. I mean, also, it still played into last year's resolution because it's just building on the same thing. But yeah, so I guess technically I have a spoken and decided resolution for next year. And I've said it out loud, so now I'm able to fail at it. I don't know if I ever said last year's out loud that I was going to try and watch a movie every week. I just tried to. And I did. That's enough talking. Like I said, I ain't making it to midnight. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. It'll be next year when I wake up. That's good enough. I'll figure out what year it is then. Then I'll have to try and remember to correct the little thing at the top of the video at the start. Wish me luck. Thank you for joining me, and joining me as my journey continues.